All right, we're joined now by Paul Gessler, who I know has been following Mosby's campaign all day for City State's Attorney. But it's now after 8 o'clock, Paul. It's officially 8:04.
Yeah.
So the polls have closed unless someone's in line. We had all these 8 days, I think, of early voting. So they have all those people that they have to count. They have the mail-in. I mean, 8 o'clock isn't really a big alarm bell the way it normally is, because this is going to take quite a while before we know even anything about the City State's Attorney's race.
Well, ring the alarm bell anyway, Denise. The polls are now shut down unless you're in line. Here at Northwood Elementary School, they have shut the doors, and there really only were about 3 or 4 voters left in line. In fact, that last voter came running up this ramp here to cheers from all the electioneers at the base to get in line before 8 o'clock. And this is just a little sampling of all the pamphlets that voters got as they walked up here. I count 11 here because there are 2 Marilyn Mosby flyers that were handed out to voters as well. So Marilyn Mosby is the candidate we've been following today. She started off at Forest Park Senior Center in Northwest Baltimore. She made several stops before coming here to Northwood Elementary. Her watch party, hopefully Miss Mosby's campaign has CBS Baltimore on at her party, is at just down the road in Waverly. So we're going to head there next, but we wanted to show you that the doors here at Northwood are now closed, and now her party is getting started.
Thank you for holding me down. Y'all ready?
Marilyn Mosby speaks to supporters and voters seeking her second re-election to Baltimore City's State's Attorney's Office, facing the same 2 opponents she beat in 2018, Ivan Bates and Thiru Vignarajah. Mosby also has the cloud of a federal case against her this time around. She's facing federal charges of perjury and falsifying information on a mortgage application. Mosby touts her record freeing those falsely accused and her office no longer prosecuting certain low-level, nonviolent offenses. She's been the target of criticism from the city's police union as well, after she brought charges against the officers involved in Freddie Gray's arrest. Although her office did not secure convictions, she says that case brought reforms.
Running on my record, I think it speaks for itself. We have to continue to change lives and to make America live up to its ideals of justice and equality for everybody. That's what this election is all about. Whether we're going to continue to move forward or we're going to move backwards.
So now is the time to really start refreshing those election results. The campaign is over. Election results starting to come in, hopefully at this hour through State Board of Elections. We expect first to know the count from the state when it comes to the early vote, those 8 days of early voting. Here at Northwood Elementary School, the final vote count today, 481. That is considerably low for this location that has 3 precincts. That's something we're going to watch not only here in the city, but statewide, is just how was turnout here on Election Day. It's important to note from that story that Ms. Mosby has pleaded not guilty to those federal charges. She faced voters here in this primary season. She'll face a federal jury for her trial in September. So her watch party just getting started now down in Waverly. We're going to head there next, but polls officially closed here across the city and across the state. Reporting in Northeast Baltimore, I'm Paul Gessler for CBS Baltimore.
Paul just said 484 for that location. We heard Armstead Jones say it a little bit earlier. Low voter turnout, at least in the city, is the general consensus at many of these spots.
Right. Although we have, I voted by mail. We have all those people who voted by mail.
Ooh, Thursday's going to be busy.
Early voting. Paul, because I know you've been following this, she faced these same 2 candidates and won handily last election. Yeah. What significant things do you think have happened between then and now, if anything, that could change the turnout?
Yeah, well, you would think in terms of this campaign specifically, we're hearing from challengers, and Stetson Miller and Annie Rose Ramos are going to be embedded with their campaigns as they were tonight as well. But they've been talking about this continued high violent crime, the homicide rate. A lot of people point to that as a reason that we've talked to, that they want to see a change. And also this federal indictment and federal case against Marilyn Mosby is certainly the cloud over this race as well. But if you look at those results from 2018, look, it's going to take a considerable dent in Marilyn Mosby's base. We're talking about an erosion of 5 figures. It's going to take 10,000 plus voters who voted for Mosby to not vote for her this time around. for one of those other candidates, one of those other challengers, Ivan Bates or Thiru Vignarajah, to defeat her tonight. She's an incumbent for a reason. She's seeking her third term. She would be the first three-term top prosecutor in Baltimore City since Patricia Jessamy, who Ivan Bates worked under as a prosecutor before he started as a defense attorney. Another reason, a few reasons why some poll workers here talking about turnout here in the city, why they think it might be lower is, look, we're in the middle of the summer. It's vacation season. People have had their vacations planned. Maybe they're out of state. And look, this primary was moved because of a court fight, a big redistricting battle in the courts that the courts basically told the General Assembly, these maps that you redrew this time around, that you had to redraw because the time is up, they're too gerrymandered. You need to go back and redraw them. That pushed this primary back, so there might have been some confusion there. And it's essentially a vacation primary, guys. A lot of people used to voting in an April primary here in Maryland are now trying to find a way to vote in a primary here in July, while there are more ways to vote with the vote by mail, absentee, 8 days of early voting, and now Election Day. It's a far more inconvenient time for many to vote.
I think that's the first time that we mentioned that today, that this was pushed back. Of course, I mean, who knows if people had vacations planned around this and whatnot. To me, Paul, I think that one could argue this is the race that has made more headlines than any other perhaps in our state. Again, city state's attorney in a city that is on pace for another year of 300 plus homicides. It would be the 8th consecutive year of that. When you ask people what their number one concern is in the entire state, in the city, it's the crime in Baltimore and nothing being done or lack of action, they think. Paul, not only have you covered the Mosby campaign this time and last race as well, you being a reporter for years in this city, you have covered her for quite some time. What is your sense just being around her campaign today? Confidence is something that she has not lacked, for sure.
Yeah. No, it's not. And you know what? Voters have opinions of Marilyn Mosby. You could look up and down the ballot and talk to voters, and they may not have an opinion about this race or that race, but they have an opinion of Marilyn Mosby and the job she's done. Much of it positive, much of it negative, but there's not much gray area there. People have opinions of this race, whether they're in the city or not. That's something that we've been following too. Marilyn Mosby's name, her face, has been put in election literature outside of the city. She's a lightning rod for criticism by many, and she's looked at positively by many others. So just in following her around today, I didn't get the sense she was looking to change anyone's mind. She was greeting supporters, she was hugging, she was taking pictures, but she was really trying to rally her support, because if her support comes out, she's going to be a tough candidate to beat, Rick.
That is the key, I think, with low voter turnout. You tend to get the people who really care, who really want to support somebody, who go out of their way to make sure that they vote, and the people who really are maybe undecided, not that committed, they're the ones who sometimes are apathetic and don't do it. And that can swing elections. I mean, it can dramatically swing elections.
Yeah. Well, and look, this is not a presidential primary. Presidential primary turnout here in the city is about 50%. Primary election turnout here in the city, about 26, 27%. So you're talking about the committed voters. While there are a lot of offices on the ballot, there's a lot at stake in this election, up and down from statewide to city to your boards of education. We're not talking about a presidential primary. Turnout is relatively low, all things considered, and if you can get your people to the polls, you're going to be taking the oath come January in this case.
That's the key.